The island was a furnace, a torment of heat that burned away all reason. The sun was a god, merciless and absolute. My mind, in an attempt to escape, would try to conjure old memories. The cool tile of a bathroom, the hum of a refrigerator. Anything but this. "Hey, Kira." The voice, warm and familiar, was a cruel invasion. Quinn Carlyle, human chaos, a golden retriever with a penchant for meanness. She was the last person I wanted to see, especially when the sun was liquefying my brain. "There's a bear behind you," she said, and I almost laughed. "There are no bears on an uninhabited island," I mumbled, swatting blindly at a mosquito. I felt a shadow flop down beside me. I didn't need to open my eyes. I knew it was her. Quinn, with her heart-shaped face and filthy blonde hair, a mess of dried flowers and craggrass. She always looked the same: high-waisted shorts, a tattered bikini top, and a saccharine smile that was a relic of a past life. A past life where she was a quintessential high school mean girl, and I was her favorite victim. Our old reality had crashed and burned. Now, my reality was bone-dry sand, incessant mosquito bites, and a hunger that gnawed on my insides like a monstrous animal. I would lie there, trying to convince myself I was on a pool float, but the smell of charred meat and the brutal heat always yanked me back. "Kira," her voice sang in my skull, "I know you're pretending to be asleep." The sun's glare bled through my eyelids, a mocking, relentless presence. "I'm awake," I mumbled, rolling over. "What is it? Are you still crying over him?" She laughed, and for a beautiful, fleeting instant, her laughter was the sound of a normal world. The sound of two kids, thick as thieves. The illusion shattered with the thud of shells hitting the back of my head. Reese. He was definitely not a morning person. "You need couples therapy," Quinn chirped, shifting to look at me, her eyes glistening. "As soon as we get home, I'm dragging you guys to a sex therapist. I know at least 3. The comment hung in the air. A surreal joke in a world where home and sex therapist were as fantastical as unicorns. I didn't bother responding. I had to conserve what little energy I had. Quinn shifted again, a blur of golden hair bleeding in the harsh light. She smelled faintly of brackish water and something else, something I couldn't quite place. I remembered the snakebite, the fever, the delirium, the way her eyes had glowed with pink-eye virulence. She had changed after that, or maybe I had. So, what happened? She pressed, her toes digging into my side. "We broke up," I said, the words brittle. "Trauma brings people together. It also rips them apart." I thought of Chase, his puppy dog eyes, his sardonic charm. We had survived 2 years together, only to have our relationship crumble. My body felt like lead, my head swam, and all I could focus on was the fact that we were almost out of water. Quinn let out an exaggerated groan, leaping to her feet. "You have legs," she told Reese, our former valedictorian, who was now a deranged sand sculptor. He was wearing a crown of bones and dead flowers, and his eyes were half-lidded in a vacant trance. "I can't be bothered getting up," he muttered. I watched them bicker, a familiar, distant symphony of a broken reality. The girl who used to call my mom and say I was pregnant was now my conjoined twin. The boy who was supposed to be a leader was a child, building sandcastles to escape the void. I stood up, the world lurching sideways. My legs felt wrong, like they belonged to someone else. I stumbled, nearly crushing Reese's fragile creation, my gaze falling on my feet. They were filthy, streaked with what looked like dried blood. When was the last time I... Quinn's voice, a concerned hum, broke through my fog. "You okay?" I blinked sand from my eyes. The sun was merciless. I needed to get to the water. I grabbed the plastic cup from Reese and stumbled toward the shallows. A figure slumped there, as he always did, legs crossed, back to me. "Chase." He was a relationship of circumstance, a trauma bond, a human being who had become my other half. I had pushed him away because I was dying, and I didn't have time for a boyfriend. But as I watched his shadow stretch across the sand, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. "Do you regret it?" he asked, his voice low and peaceful. "Yes," I whispered. He pulled his hand away when I reached for it, and his eyes were hollow, too blue, like the ocean, like the sky, like the suffocating void of endless nothing. "Then why did you do it?" he said, and my own words splintered in my throat. I had to. I had to. I had to. We talked about going home, about Minecraft and raiding fridges, as if it were a real possibility. But his voice held a certain morbid finality. "We're going to starve to death, Kira." Just then, a rumbling tore through the air. A dot appeared on the horizon, growing bigger, becoming a whirring, unmistakable shape. A helicopter. The sound of its propellers ripped through the silence, and I was screaming, running, my body finally obeying. I saw Chase's face, his hope fading, his voice a panicked yell. "We can't get on that helicopter. Kira, you know we can't." His friends, the ghosts of our shared past, agreed with him. Quinn and Reese slumped back to the sand. "Are you insane?" I shrieked. But he only shook his head, his eyes pleading. I clung to him, desperately trying to pull him with me, but he pulled away, walking back to the ghosts. "Miss," a voice said, and I was being gently lifted. "Can you hear me?" A woman sat across from me, her eyes piercing. "Kira, you are the sole survivor of the Orion 742 crash." I looked out the window. Chase, Quinn, and Reese stood on the beach, growing smaller as we ascended. Chase smiled, a small, forgiving curl of the lips. I remembered his words. "I've recently grown impervious." I remembered his skull, the way the bone felt in my hands, a piece of him I could never let go of. "Are you saying there were survivors on the island with you?" the woman asked, and outside, Chase turned, his smile fading, and vanished into the trees. I wanted to tell her, to make her see, but the words wouldn't come. My reality, the one I had built to survive, was crumbling. "There is nobody else," the woman said. Denial tasted like vomit. Vomit tasted like Chase. And somewhere in the suffocating blue, in a sea of tangled limbs, there was the girl who gave me her oxygen mask, decapitated. "Are you saying there were survivors on the island with you?" My eyes found the window. Outside, as we ascended, Chase stood with his arms folded, eyes locked on me. Quinn and Reese were at his side, Quinn on her tiptoes, waving, and Reese offering a lopsided smile. As if he could hear the woman's words, Chase slowly shook his head. I remembered wearing his skull, the prongs cutting into my skin, his blood painting my face. It felt right. Like I had a piece of him with me, always near me. I was never going to let him go. "Why did you do it?" Chase's words from earlier slammed into me, quickly followed by my answer. I had to do it, to survive. "Kira," the woman leaned forward, her gaze piercing, as if she could see everything. Everything I had done. "Come on, baby. You can talk to me." Outside, Quinn turned and catapulted into the trees, dissolving under the sun's rays. Tears stung my eyes, my vision feathering. No, I let out the words I had been holding on to. Denial tasted like vomit. Vomit tasted like Chase. I couldn't resist looking for him, whose eyes found me one last time. I wanted to believe he forgave me. His smile was small, fleeting, and forgiving, as if he still loved me, before he too turned and vanished into the trees, leaving the bloody, tangled streaks of my hair as a final reminder of his sacrifice. His skull was still on my head, a gruesome crown. "I'm the only survivor," I whispered, the words rattling in my empty mouth. The bleach-scented air was so cold, so colorless, so wrong. There was no one else. Just me.